Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. My name is Sonia Muniz. I am the State Director for Maine for Veterans Yoga Project, and I'll be guiding your practice today for an adaptive chair practice. Finding a nice, comfortable seat, whatever that might look like, if you're utilizing a chair or practicing without a chair, maybe just on your mat. You might like to recline. Maybe you sit up nice and tall. Maybe you place your hands on your palms and you can extend your legs. Feel free to cross your ankles. I invite you to keep your eyes closed. Maybe your eyes stay open. And as you come into the space and you're now and here, maybe you focus on a sound, a sight, or maybe a sensation. If you would like, I invite you to begin to maybe deepen your breath, either a nice long inhale or a long deep exhale. Maybe your breath does not change, and that's okay. With your next breath, maybe you begin to tuck your chin into your chest, lowering your gaze. And whenever you feel ready, maybe you gently guide one of your ears to your shoulder. It could be either your left or your right. You might notice a stretching sensation through the side of your neck. And maybe you draw your chin across your chest one more time as you mindfully guide your opposite ear to your opposite shoulder. With your breath beginning to draw your chin back to your chest. Maybe you rock your ear to your shoulder in the opposite direction. And feel free to move intuitively here, maybe drawing back your chin into your chest as you guide your ear to your opposite shoulder. Maybe taking a breath or an extra moment wherever you might need it. And maybe giving yourself another little neck roll here, inviting yourself to roll your head back if you'd like, and noticing that sensation. And whenever you feel ready, coming back to neutral posture with your neck and head. And with your next breath, I invite you to expand through your arms. Maybe you exhale and maybe you inhale as you guide one of your hands over to your opposite knee. You might place your elbow on the back of your chair, maybe to the earth behind you if you're seated on a mat. Your gaze might follow over to your shoulder. It might stay forward. And with your next breath, whether it be an inhale or an exhale, maybe expanding through your arms, reaching towards the ceiling and twisting over to the opposite direction. Mindfully placing your hand over to your opposite thigh, placing your palm on the earth behind you or maybe on the chair. Know that your gaze can be forward a little bit to your over your shoulder or even straight ahead. And with your next breath, I invite you to expand through your arms, reaching wide as you reach towards the ceiling and guiding your hands back down to reach your palm, the tops of your legs. Maybe with an inhale or an exhale, you bring your chest forward. Your gaze might follow towards the ceiling for a seated cow shape. And with your breath, maybe you press your palm into the top of your thighs or your knees as you round out through your spine into a cat shape. 2 to 3 more breaths with your breath, whether it's long and slow. Maybe you pause in between each shape to notice the sensations in them. Know that you can even twist to one side if you'd like, moving intuitively to just warm up your spine. And whenever you feel ready, returning to a neutral posture. Take a nice inhale or exhale as you expand through your arms. Maybe your gaze reaches towards the ceiling. And when you feel ready, hinging at your hips as you begin to forward fold, you might use deep blocks right in front of you, or maybe just reaching towards the ground. And with your next breath, maybe place your palms on the blocks or your shins as you half lift. Beginning to fold forward with the breath. And when you feel ready, expanding your arms as you reach nice and tall towards the ceiling. You might bring your hands to heart center. Or you can even place your palms back to the tops of your thighs for mountain shape. With your next breath, expanding through your arms, reaching towards the ceiling. And when you feel ready, hinging at your hips for a forward fold. With your next breath, half lift. And when you feel ready, forward fold. Initiating your next breath with expansion through your arms, reaching towards the ceiling. And this time, mindfully twisting over, guiding one of your palms, whether it's the left or the right, to your opposite knee, beginning for a gentle twist here. You might place your arm on the backrest of your chair, maybe placing your palm on the earth if you're seated on the ground, or maybe even hooking the seat of your chair with your palm. Your gaze can go over your shoulder, maybe it remains forward. And whenever you feel ready, maybe expanding through your arms as you return to center. And with your next breath, hinging at your hips as you begin to forward fold. With your next breath, coming up to half lift. and forward fold. Expanding through your arms as you reach towards the ceiling. Maybe your gaze follows, and twisting over to your opposite side for a supine twist, seated twist. Your gaze can be lowered, it can be lifted. Maybe you look over your shoulder. There's no wrong or right way here. When you feel ready, expanding through your arms, maybe you reach towards the ceiling. And with a breath, I invite you to bend at your elbows. Bring your heart or chest forward. With your next breath, reaching and bending at your elbows when you feel ready. One more time, taking your breath, and as you lengthen and reach, maybe you press into your feet here. And with your breath, bending at your elbows. And kindly, mindfully returning your palms to the tops of your thighs. With your next breath, I invite you to expand through your arms and reach towards the ceiling. And when you feel ready, hinging at your hips for a forward fold. Maybe utilize your blocks. You can even utilize a bolster or stacked pillows here. And I invite you to widen your stance through your legs if you'd like for a seated child shape. Maybe you walk your palms over to one side of your mat or to one corner of where your legs are to your chair. And maybe you notice a stretch through your side body. And whenever you feel ready, returning back to center. Maybe taking a moment here and enjoying this fold. And with your next breath, if you'd like to join me, maybe walking your hands over to the opposite side, creating length through your side body. Maybe you notice a stretch. Maybe you don't. And that's totally okay. And when you feel ready, maybe returning your palms back to center as you mindfully begin to roll up to a nice tall seated shape. I invite you to shift over to one side of your chair, maybe opening up through your left or your right leg. And you're going to slide your opposite hip a little bit closer to the edge. And you're going to guide your knee to kind of point down. Maybe this is exactly where you need to be. You might notice stretching through the front side of your thigh. You might want to place your hands on your hips and focus on the sensations here if they feel inviting. Maybe utilize the back of your chair for support, or maybe whatever seat you are utilizing at this moment. If you like, maybe you begin to explore with one of your arms as you reach towards the front of the room, maybe towards the ceiling, into what we call a crescent lunge. Maybe you take this moment to notice your breath in the supported shape. Maybe you let your knee relax a little bit more and allow the chair to support you. Maybe you explore the sensation of pressing into the earth and noticing how your leg presses against the chair. And if you feel ready, maybe you let your curiosity guide you as you bring your other arm to reach next to the one that is lifted. And if you feel ready, maybe placing your palm back to the back of the chair, guiding your hand that is extended back to your hip. Mindfully beginning to sway your hips back to the chair, either by bringing your knee closer to the other and then shifting back to center. Giving yourself some time to kind of shake out your legs if you'd like. Maybe you extend them if it's a sensation that might not be comfortable for your legs or your knees. And when you feel ready, I invite you to expand through your arms. Maybe you reach your gaze towards the ceiling. And hinging at your hips, beginning to forward fold. With your next breath, half lift and fold. Expanding through your arms with your next breath, reaching towards the ceiling. Maybe your gaze follows. And whenever you feel ready, bringing your hands and palms to heart center. Giving yourself a moment to notice the sensations in your body here. If you feel ready, I invite you to place your palms on your hips, maybe easing closer to the edge of your chair, shifting your knees over to the opposite direction. Maybe you allow your leg that will be facing and supporting your crescent lunge more support through the chair, placing your arm closest to the back to rest on the backrest, and gently guiding your back leg into a bent knee. Maybe you place your palm on your hip. And if you'd like, maybe beginning to explore the sensation of guiding one of your hands to reach towards the ceiling for your crescent lunge. Maybe noticing the sensations through your legs. And if there is any discomfort, feel free to exit the shape at any time. Maybe you begin to explore guiding your arm that is resting against the chair to meet the other. And at your pace, beginning to guide your palms back to either meet the backrest of your chair or maybe your hip. Mindfully guiding your knee to meet the other as you carefully return to center. I invite you to expand through your arms, maybe reach towards the ceiling. Your gaze might follow. And if you feel ready, maybe placing one of your palms on your lap. Maybe you place your palm against the chair for support and reaching over to one direction. Maybe your gaze follows your arm. Maybe it looks through your armpit, kind of. And whenever you feel ready, maybe guiding your opposite arm that is reaching back towards your seat as your arm that was planted or seated against the chair reaches towards the ceiling. Once more, your gaze might go to your hand reaching towards the ceiling, or maybe you kind of look towards a space past your armpit. And whenever you feel ready, maybe guiding your hand back to meet your lap or the sides of your chair, mountain shape. With your next breath, I invite you to expand through your arms, maybe reach towards the ceiling. And exhale or inhale as you bring your arms back down. With your breath, expanding towards the ceiling. And then lowering your arms down. Mindfully expanding 2 to 3 more times just to get the breath moving. And whenever you feel ready, bringing your hands back to heart center. If you feel ready, maybe you open up through one of your hips, whether it's your left or your right. You can ease towards the edge of your chair here. And you're going to extend one of your legs in the opposite direction here. I invite you to ensure that your seat is still on the chair. If you'd like, maybe you adjust your chair to kindly twist a little bit more for support of your front leg. If it helps, you can always bring your leg a little bit more forward as you find your best, most supported warrior 2 legs. Maybe you bring your palms to your hips and you can bring your gaze forward. Maybe you bring your arms out to tease. Bring your gaze towards the front arm, maybe towards your middle finger. If you'd like, maybe you bend at your elbow and guide your elbow to your front leg, reaching your back arm towards the ceiling for a side angle pose or shape. Maybe you explore a sensation of really reaching your back leg towards the earth, and you might notice sensation through the side of your body. And with your next breath, if you feel ready, mindfully guiding your arm that is reaching towards the ceiling, towards your back leg, and you begin to reverse your warrior to a shape that we call the exalted warrior. Is one of my favorites. And whenever you feel ready, maybe returning back to your warrior 2. Returning your palms back to your hips. And whenever you feel ready, closing your hip, maybe returning your seat back to a neutral shape, squaring your hips. Maybe allowing yourself to kind of shift a little bit. And with your next breath, I invite you to expand through your arms, maybe reach towards the ceiling and beginning to forward fold. Half lift when you feel ready. And with your breath, beginning to forward fold. At your pace, expanding through your arms, maybe following your gaze towards the ceiling as you reach. And bring your palms to heart center once you feel ready. I invite you to open up your opposite hip as much and as comfortably as possible. Maybe you adjust your chair for a little bit more support if it helps. You can bring your palms to your hips and extending your opposite leg out. You might notice that the sensations are very different here. One hip might need a little bit less or more than the other. So take your time that you might need to help you find the shape that meets your needs. So whether that is shortening your stance, allowing yourself to step a little bit more forward in your shape, I invite you to do so. And whenever you feel ready, maybe you gaze towards the same direction that your front leg is facing. And kindly bring your arms out to your warrior two. Know that you're allowed to shift in your shapes as much as you need to. We often forget that our yoga practice is not a practice to always challenge ourselves, but to invite ourselves to meet ourselves where we are at this moment. If you would like, I invite you to place your front arm on top of your front leg or your thigh. As you reach your opposite arm towards the ceiling, maybe your gaze follows towards the ceiling. Maybe you keep your gaze lowered. And if you feel ready, I invite you to bring your arm that is lifted to meet your back leg as you begin to reverse your warrior for your exalted warrior. You can even bring your hand up to your hip if that feels more supportive. And if this is tiring, I invite you to bring your hand to your heart. Always meeting yourself where you need to. And if you feel ready, I invite you to bring your arms back out to your warrior two if they have left. And maybe you place your palms back to your hips as you begin to close your hip and return back to center. You might return your palms to the tops of your thighs for a warrior two. For a mountain shape. I'm sorry, not a warrior two at all. Maybe you bring your shoulders up to your ears and roll them away, kind of inviting movement through the neck and shoulders here. You can even reverse the movement. Just a little shoulder rolls. And with your next breath, I invite you to expand through your arms, maybe reach your gaze towards the ceiling. And when you feel ready, beginning to hinge at your hips as you forward fold. With your next breath, half lift and fold. When you feel ready, I invite you to expand through your arms as you reach towards the ceiling. Maybe you interlace your fingertips and just release your pointer and your thumb. And notice how evenly, if they are, your seat is on your chair. Maybe you begin to reach towards one direction of the room. And notice if your hips leave that side of the chair. And if they do, try to bring them back down. If it's a little difficult, it's okay. Maybe you notice more stretch. Maybe even feels better. And when you feel ready, you might return back to center and guide your hands over to the opposite direction. And back to center. Take one more breath here as you reach and lengthen. And whenever you feel ready, maybe bring your palms back down to meet your lap. We're going to explore eagle shape or eagle posture next. And there's a couple variations you can take with your arms. Maybe you cross through your elbows, which will be either on top of each other. Maybe you keep your palms together. Or maybe you provide a little bit of the self-hug. So whatever that variation might look like for you, feel free. You might like having some blocks here for your support, or maybe not. But I invite you to cross either at your ankle and bringing your heels a little bit closer to your chair here. Maybe you cross on the top of your knee. And with your arms, I invite you to reach towards the ceiling. Maybe you cross your elbows for eagle arms, bringing the right over the left or the left over the right, or maybe you go for the hug. The key to this eagle shape and this chair is two options. Maybe you lean forward and notice the sensation here. Maybe you really press into the foot that is on the earth and notice the strength there. Allowing yourself to explore and play. Maybe you allow yourself to bow a little bit, tucking your chin in. And when you feel ready, coming back to your seat, maybe unhooking your leg from the top of the other. If your arms are crossed over your heart, maybe you expand through your arms. As you bring your hands to heart center, allowing yourself a moment here. Right before you cross your arms in the opposite direction. So if your right was over your left, maybe this time you place your left over your right. And then mindfully placing your opposite leg over the other that you haven't crossed over yet. One more time, I invite you to bring your heel a little bit closer to your chair. And your two options might look like hinging at your hips and reaching your crown towards the front of the room. Noticing how your hips might begin to elevate off the chair. Maybe you intentionally press your thigh against the chair and notice the strength behind the shape here. Maybe you begin to bow a little bit more. Whenever you feel ready, slowly and mindfully coming back up to your seats. Maybe you unhook your leg from the top of your other. And if you feel ready, maybe expanding through your arms as you begin to forward fold. I invite you to utilize your blocks here as you reach towards the front of the room. You might lengthen through your legs. Maybe you widen your legs a little bit to a sensation of similar to a downward facing dog. Giving yourself a moment to notice the way you might be feeling, if it feels safe. Maybe you notice your breath here. And whenever you feel ready, mindfully and slowly, vertebrae by vertebrae, maybe coming up to a seated shape. And from here, if you have either a belt or a strap, I invite you to begin to utilize a strap, whether it's already in a loop or not. I invite you to hook onto one of your feet, whether it's your left or your right, and pressing your toes. Lifting your leg up just as comfortably as possible. Maybe you bend into your knee. If it helps you, you might even reach for your ankle and guide it right over the top of your opposite thigh. If this shape seems a little bit more difficult or not fit for your body, I invite you to even extend your leg. Know that you can lower your foot closer towards your shin, or maybe just cross your ankle here. If it's supportive, you can always utilize a block to be on top of your foot. This is kind of like a figure 4. If this is feeling pretty good, or you would like to explore a little bit more, maybe you hinge at your hips and reach towards your lengthened leg. And whenever you feel ready, slowly coming back up to a tall seat. Mindfully lifting your leg off the one that you have it over and placing it back to meet the earth. Bringing your other leg down to meet the earth. And when you feel ready, utilizing your strap to hook over your opposite foot, allowing yourself to extend your leg as comfortably as possible. Maybe you press into the strap. Maybe you bend your knee a little bit. If it helps, you might extend your opposite leg out a little bit more as you mindfully guide your foot on top of the other for a figure 4. Again, you might like to use a block if it helps. Maybe you explore the sensation of beginning to hinge forward. You might notice discomfort. If you do, feel free to exit the shape on the back of your leg from the chair. Maybe you use a block to support you. Whenever you feel ready, slowly coming back up. Maybe bring your hands to your hips as you mindfully remove your ankle from the top of your thigh. And here I invite you to widen your stance as comfortably as possible. Maybe you will utilize your blocks here, or maybe your bolster. Replacing your blocks on the tallest shape, or maybe stacking the set of books that you have at a comfortable height. I invite you to place your palms right on top of the blocks, leading with your chest just a little bit, maybe expanding your arm over for a gentle twist. Maybe you just keep your hand over your heart or your chest and noticing the twist here. Getting some last movements out of our practice. Whenever you feel ready, maybe placing your palm back to meet your palm to meet the block. Bringing your opposite palm to meet your heart, or expanding towards the ceiling or towards the side of the room. And then returning back to a center shape. One more time, bringing your hand to your heart, or maybe reaching your arm towards the ceiling. And then bringing your palm back down to meet the block. Your opposite arm reaches for your heart, or maybe the ceiling. Maybe you start in one and finish in the other. Moving with your breath. So even if you take a couple more because you like the sensation, you're more than welcome to. This is your practice. And maybe you walk your blocks out for one more forward fold, or maybe downward dog here. Maybe you keep your knees bent. Maybe you walk your toes out a little bit more to notice some stretching on the back of your legs. Maybe you notice sensation on the sides of your body here. Maybe you focus on just your breath. Whenever you feel ready, I invite you to walk your palms back in towards center. Maybe you grab your bolster for support here. You can stand it in a tall shape if you'd like. You can even stack some blocks right below your bolster if you're a little bit of a taller person or just want a little bit closer to the top of your seat because folding is uncomfortable. But as we ease into our final shape, your option might be hugging this bolster, your bolster, or your blankets and pillows and blocks. Your other option might be beginning to recline on the back of your chair. And whenever you feel ready, you can begin to fold. Maybe you allow yourself some time to sit nice and tall if you like. But beginning at the bottoms of your feet, I invite you to mindfully press your big toe mound, your little toe mound, maybe your heels into the earth, and notice the sensation that it might create. Maybe you relax the pressure. Maybe you lift all your toes and bring awareness to your feet. If you feel ready, maybe you guide your awareness up through your legs, maybe towards your knees, over to your legs. Maybe you notice some sensations or residual feelings from today's practice in your seat and your hips. And as your palms rest, either palms up or palms down on your lap, maybe you notice the weight of your fingertips, or maybe the sensation of the cloth of your clothing, or whatever your palms might be resting on. Bringing your awareness towards your torso. Maybe you notice your breath there in your belly. Maybe you notice the rise and fall of your breath through your chest. Moving your scan or your awareness back over to your shoulders. Maybe you notice some tightness, some tension. And if it feels welcoming, maybe you release a nice cleansing breath, whatever that might look like for you. And maybe it's a little hard to remove that tension, and that's okay. Know that everybody's process and journey is very different. Bringing your awareness over through your neck to your jaw, unclenching it if you can. Maybe you bring your gaze onto a shape or object in front of you. Maybe you gently close your eyes if it is safe for you. The resting part of this practice is usually the most challenging for some. It might be easy for our minds to wander in many directions, whether they serve us or not. When you find yourself wandering in through your thoughts, I invite you to maybe welcome a long breath, maybe a deep breath, or maybe just returning your awareness back to your breath. Maybe you wiggled your toes and your fingertips to remind yourself that you are here right now. Maybe you invite a mantra to remind yourself that you are safe, that you are enough. Maybe you take a moment here to notice your breath. Whether you invite intention behind it one more time, or noticing how you're feeling at this moment, and holding no judgment for yourself. Welcoming movement if it's necessary for your practice to be here and now. And any moment that you feel like you should readjust yourself, feel free to do so. Maybe that means removing your bolster from your forehead and allowing yourself to recline on your seat. If you feel ready, maybe you begin to welcome movement back into your body, whether that might be wiggling your toes, allowing your shoulders to come up and away from your ears if you're in a seated shape. Maybe shifting your knees to one side and the other. Maybe closing your hands and opening them. Inviting awareness back to your body. Maybe taking a moment here to notice sensations and the feelings in your body now versus earlier in class, if that is a safe practice for you. And maybe you come up to a nice tall seated shape if it is accessible to you. Removing any blocks or props or gear that you have utilized. Invite you to place one hand or both hands over your heart. You might leave your palm on top of your lap, palm down, or maybe you place your palm up. And you give yourself this moment of gratitude for allowing yourself time and space for a practice. And I'd like to share my gratitude and my honor to being allowed to guide you tonight in this practice. And I hope to practice with you all again. The light in me sees and appreciates the light in every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you so yes, thank you so much, Sonia. That was an amazing class. Just a reminder, this class is in our Veterans Gratitude Week. We are in full fundraising mode, so please take a moment to go to veteransyogaproject.org, make a donation, share the link with your friends and family. Thank you so much, Sonia. That was such a beautiful class.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a good night.
Yeah, you as well.
Bye.